Hello, guys and girls from Spanish Libertarian. It's Ignacy here, and we are making today another interview. And as you can see, I'm not talking in Spanish today, I'm talking in English. For the ones who don't know, we have today here an important and new YouTuber. His name is Hing. Zach, thanks for being here. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, Ignacy. Thank you so much for having me on here. Thanks for contacting me. I look forward to our conversation. And like I mentioned prior, I'm just amazed that you found my videos and you're in Spain, which is crazy.
Well, that's the magic of internet. Everything is connected. And also if you know this universal language, we could say that is English. I mean, everything makes it easy. If you don't know Zach, he has a lot of videos. I think he uploads like daily content, but also some of his videos have gone viral because he says somehow something like non-political, politically incorrect content, but he's just speaking his mind, and I love his approach. I love the tone he uses, and I love his history. And as always happens, I talk too much. I don't want to talk because you are the most important person in this interview. The first question, as we always say, we know how this interview starts, but we don't know how is it going to end. But the first question is, who is Zach Hing? Can you explain something about yourself, or at least why did you start YouTube? So when you want.
Okay, I mean, that's a very obviously broad question, but just for the purposes of this interview and the viewers that are going to be watching this, I'm somebody, a millennial American here living in California of Chinese descent. I'm a fourth generation Chinese American. So my family's been in the U.S. for a long time. A lot of them have all kinds of different beliefs. So it was only until recently that I found that some of my family members shared some of the same beliefs as me. And, not everyone does, but that's okay. We were able to have a healthy dialogue about it. As for YouTube, I've actually been doing YouTube since, I'm a young person. I've been on YouTube for 10 years. I've been using YouTube since it started, but over the last however many years, I've had 3 or 4 channels in the past that never made it past 100 subscribers. I was very low key. I was doing a bunch of different stuff. Like, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do on YouTube. And I was also a kid at the time. So I would put up like dog videos. I would put up like visual effects videos, whatever I was into at the time, art videos. And what ended up happening was, I think recently I became more versed. There were some issues socially and politically that I wanted to address and talk about. And I started doing my homework on it, listening to different people, listening to both sides, looking into the facts. And I started the current YouTube channel that I have now about a year ago, but I only made about 2 or 3 videos. And then I stopped because I got camera shy. I wasn't confident in my content. And then I decided to revive it about a little over a month ago, and I started talking about some of these things that a lot of people agree and feel the same way about, and a lot of people also disagree, and that's okay. The whole point of my channel is I know I have a view, I know I lean more right-wing, but I'm open to a conversation, and I think that that's something that will never change, is that I love to see what people think, which is why it's very conversational. It's not like I'm a journalist reporting on something. So that's the idea behind my YouTube channel. Again, it's going to grow. It's only really been alive for over a month, but because I make videos every day, it feels like I've been doing this a long time, and it may change in the near future. I just want to be able to express my views and my opinions freely. And I only ask that people, enter into healthy discussions with each other, which I know a lot of people on the Discord server that I run also do. So, yeah.
So more or less what happened during the last month? Because I remember seeing one of your videos, and I think it was like 3 weeks ago, that you were saying like, well, thank you for this hitting 1,000 subscribers. And now you're having like 25,000, or please remind me that number.
20, close to 28,000, which is outrageous. And it was totally unexpected. It's not something that I am actually even used to or comfortable with. Still adjusting to it. I mean, the growth has slowed a little bit, which is okay. It's still growing, but like it's not like doubling and my inbox isn't blowing up or anything. But that's the thing, is I totally did not expect that to happen. I guess some of the things that I was talking about might have struck a nerve with people or might have, resonated with them in some way. I think I found out from people that I just like showed up in their recommendations. That's like the weird thing is that I had no subscribers I had 20 subscribers when I did this channel over a month ago. And I guess people watched it. Some people shared it. Some people blogged about it. And it just kind of took off. So I can't really explain it. I haven't changed the way I made videos. I don't think it's the editing or the production because there's no real editing. It's just camera, no cuts, no, So I don't really know what to say. It's crazy, but I'm also very appreciative and thankful for all the viewers and the support. So.
Okay, well, that's kind of cool because you're just expressing your mind and the way you are, and I think the people appreciate. And I have to say, I'm one of them. If you want, let's start this interview by yourself. In one video, you were mentioning that you were raised conservative. Then you were somehow involved into the social justice warrior movement. So the question is now, what are you coming back to the conservatism, or tell us something about this whole intellectual journey.
Well, when I grew up conservative, when I say conservative, I'm not talking necessarily in a political sense. I grew up in a Christian household. There were certain values and things that were upheld, which align in some form to more right-wing stuff, more so than anything. But, growing up in a household, that's just what you do. And that's just, you have those beliefs because you're still at home. Your parents believe in those things. The closest people to you are going to believe in those things. And then when you go to college, you're taught something else. You're taught something differently. And it's not necessarily bad or anything. It's just, that's what you're taught. It was more left-leaning stuff, all the concepts that I have covered that I don't necessarily agree with anymore. And, my time when I was doing that, I wasn't really, I wouldn't say that I was actively going out and really pushing forward. I just kind of felt and believed those things and talked about them when I was more of a progressive, because that's what I was being taught. And when you live in an area where I live, almost everyone feels that way. So, you conform to that. And a lot of what is pushed forward is very, very catered to inherent feelings and prejudice and all of that, which is not invalid. But at the end of the day, the only way for change to happen and progress to happen is for facts to be expressed. And they may not always be what people want to hear, but that is the reality of it. So I woke up and I decided to, look into it further. But it didn't happen at a flip of a switch. As I mentioned in some videos, it was more gradual. It was post-college, there were some violent protests that happened at UC Berkeley that kind of caused me to go look into it further. Why are they silencing Milo Yiannopoulos? Why are they preventing him from speaking? What could he be saying that's so bad that it's, cause for him to not be able to speak at UC Berkeley? And I looked into that further. Again, I don't always agree even with a lot of what people on the right say. There are extremes on both sides. But where I can say that I am now is more of I have conservative beliefs that are constitutionally conservative. But that at the same time, I'm not as socially conservative as some other people. I don't disagree with gay marriage or anything like that. But I'm all for things like gun ownership and, free markets and, capitalism and things like that. So, that's where I'm at. And that's what I want to express to people. But, there's an aspect of tribalism in the United States and also in where we live, and at least where I live right now, I can only speak for the Bay Area. People tend to lean more left, and if you feel otherwise, it may not always be welcome, and I understand that. So right now I would say that I'm just somewhere, I have conservative values, and I believe in a lot of the right-wing ideas, but, I'm not out there to promote radicalism or extremism or anything. I just want people to have a conversation. We can coexist peacefully, I would like to think. And that's all I really want, is for us to be able to disagree, but be able to be civil about it.
I absolutely agree with the latest point. I mean, it doesn't matter your political orientation. The thing is that we have to coexist and we have to debate. I'm talking about that. Do you feel, in a way, optimistic or pessimistic if you think about it? Do you think that nowadays in the United States, or at least where you live, is it easy to have this kind of conversation? or on the other side, this PC culture is ruining everything?
You know what? I think that for conversations, it depends on who you're talking to. I am optimistic about the fact that there are thousands of people out there. There's more support than there are people who are opposed to it. Like, there are thousands of people out there who feel the same way. And I get comments from people, and I've had real conversations with people, not bots or anything on camera, and in real life about these things. And they go, man, I feel the same way. I just don't feel, I just don't feel like I can express it. I stand by my optimism that I think that we're moving towards better things, because America, has been making progress. We're not perfect. Neither party is perfect. And there have been incredible leaps and strides that have been made in the past 20 to 30 years that I won't deny. When people say that America was never great and that it's going south and everything, how can you say that when economically we're prospering? It's definitely I'm not denying that racism doesn't exist, but it's not like it's segregation era. It's far less racist than it was before. That's not to dismiss that happened in the past. And as a matter of fact, your second part of your question was talking with people about it in the area. I think that right now, especially with my beliefs, I've only really been exposed to one sort of norm, one type of feel when it comes to people. And as a result, I don't really know. I know that I can see it from my perspective, because the nice thing about the internet is it goes everywhere. And there are people from Australia, people from Sweden, people from Western Europe, Eastern Europe even, and they're like, yeah, I get it. I see it from the outside in, and that's what I think. And I stand by my optimism. I think it's going to get better, and I think that it's going to be easier for us to have a conversation, but I also think that it's individual, So I stand by that. I don't think it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get better. And if people disagree, that's okay too.
Well, I agree also with your point. My channel, I live in Spain, and on the first glance, I only thought that my audience is going to be Spanish, but one check the number, and I have plenty of audience in Latin America too, which is nice, but not surprising, and that's one of the effects of the internet. If you want, just for closing this social justice warrior theme, I always, or sometimes I make this question, imagine I am the typical activist, and I think we live in a patriarchy, and Trump is a racist, fascist, bigot, blah, blah, blah. But I want to hear you 1 minute. Could you red pill me, so to speak, in 1 minute? What could you say if I'm willing to understand your point, just in 1 minute?
You want to know the funny thing is, I wouldn't red pill somebody in that regard, because to red pill someone almost sounds like you want to wake them up forcefully. And to go with the metaphor of the red pill and the matrix, it's like they have to choose to. So the interesting thing is, I wouldn't spout off things like, this is what it is, these are the facts or whatever. What I would do is I would tell people to go check out these people. And I say that because it's one thing if it's coming from someone like me. It's another thing if it's coming from specific sources, from a variety of different people of different backgrounds. So check out people like Larry Elder, check out people like Thomas Sowell, start looking at some of these people, not just people who have opinions, but people who are dedicated, informed authorities on the subject, and then go, okay, this is what they're saying, this is what I've been taught, I'm going to look into it further, and now I'm going to form my own conclusion. So that's the thing. If somebody believed in different things to me, my way of doing this is not, you're wrong, these are the facts, go investigate them, because that doesn't do anything to foster a discussion. What I would say is, hey, this is what I feel, these is what I think the facts are, I think that there is no wage gap, I think that this is the case, and I would say, okay, now go listen to these people. Because don't take it from me. Have me be the jumping off point, but go find out for yourself, and then you're like, okay, I went down the rabbit hole, or I looked at it, and now I think differently. That right there is far more impactful than me going, okay, this is where you're wrong. This is where you're wrong. Everybody loves to do that. Everybody loves to say, you're wrong, I'm right, and I think that I'm right because of this, 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 and this. And can you blame people for being very, very polarized and bigoted? I don't blame people for feeling that way. The best form of it is when the individual makes a decision and goes, that doesn't make sense to me anymore. I'm going to change, or I'm going to feel a bit differently. I'm going to realign myself politically because of what I've experienced. That is the best way to do it. And that's like if you were talking, like if I was talking to you as an SJW, I'd say, hey, man, this is what I think, and this is why I think it. Now go look at these people and then come back. And then let's talk again. It's not like one of those, like, it'll happen in one conversation. It may take a while. It may be something that people, you know, may not come to terms with at first, but then they keep going in and looking at it and looking at both sides and going like, gosh, is this, you know, where we are right now as people? We can't even disagree. You know, so that's what I would do. I would also point to the symptoms. Like, I mean, people are intolerant. People don't want to talk about it. And that in itself, regardless of like political affiliation, is, you know, I don't think it's beneficial for people because they're just kind of going with it. You conform and you don't question why things are what they are. You just go with it because that's what you're taught. And that's the safe thing. And that's also another thing I would tell people is like, look beyond, you know, the superficial and see what's really going on.
Well, the good thing is that we have channels like yours in where there's really a good debate, and we try to leave the biases out. I would like to sweep the topic a bit. Sorry, we have been talking about social justice warriors, but here, at least in Spain or in Europe, we also hear about this other movement that is on the other side of the political spectrum, that is the AltRight. But I've been trying to check or to understand this movement, and in a way, I still don't get it. One can understand or at least perceive that they are white supremacists, but on the other side, they tend to be only like patriots, or I don't get it. So I would like to hear your 2 cents on the alt-right movement.
I will be honest with you. Alt-right, as far as it is as a movement, or even conservative or right-wing or radical, is something that changes on a daily basis. It almost changes at the flip of a switch when someone deems someone else as a white supremacist, which is why when people start putting themselves into categories like that, or they start putting other people into categories like that, I can't adequately give my opinion on it. I have to go by the individual. If we're talking about, you know, Richard Spencer being part of the alt-right, I can talk about the individual. I can say, okay, this is where I disagree. This is where I think that there's problems with his beliefs and why I disagree. But to talk about the alt-right as a whole and say that even somebody like, I don't know, Jordan Peterson is part of the alt-right, or Lauren Southern is part of the alt-right. It doesn't really work like that. It's more of like, who is in it and what do I feel about them? And to answer your question about the movement, because it constantly changes, because it's defined by the people who are part of it and their actions, I think that if there's any form of extremism that promotes bigotry and promotes fear and terrorism or racism, I think that that's wrong. Those are not things that I support. But what I do support are the enforcement of facts, of helping people. And unfortunately, like, that's the thing with people like Larry Elder, who has come out and spoken against things of like white privilege and stuff, and he's black and says things like, yeah, it doesn't exist and everything. And people will go, well, if you say that, you are part of the alt-right. He's not. That's the kind of the problem with it. I don't think alt-right is even a legitimate way of defining people who have certain beliefs. But it's an easy way to group a lot of extremes into one thing. And so my opinion on it is, I don't know. We go by people. We don't go by movements. It's like saying, what do you think of the Republican Party? Well, who's in it? I mean, it's like there are crazies in every kind of group, which is why I don't like group politics. I don't like this, like, you're part of this, so you must be all of these things. No. I mean, you can have some beliefs, and you can have some other beliefs, but alt-right is like something that changes constantly. Asking me what I feel about the alt-right is like asking me what I think of the Republican Party. And it's like, I mean, they have some of these issues. It changes all the time. Like, things that they used to be opposed to, they're now more for, they're more lenient about. So we have to go by a case-by-case basis, and it has to be circumstantial. It cannot be like, I think that they're wrong, or I think that they're right. I don't think that they're right, but I also don't really have an opinion. So
I love this idea that you're mentioning about talking about the individual, and I think it's the most important thing to have an honest conversation. And introduce me to the next topic I would like to talk to you is about identity politics, because I don't know what is happening in the United States, but it seems that you are exporting these concepts into Europe or other countries. So I would like to know your opinion about identity politics, or I don't know, for example, you have this video about the so-called Asian privilege, and you explain your thoughts. So I don't know, I would like to also hear your opinion on that, because I think this is very, very important, or very, very hard these days in America, isn't it?
Yeah, identity politics suggests that because you are a certain race, gender, demographic, you are grouped with people who are also share those characteristics, and these are your problems. These are why you are oppressed. And identity politics is all about like saying, well, I am this minority, this person, and these are my problems. Yet it doesn't always help, because every individual is going to have their own problems. We use identity politics as a way to group people together and go, okay, their problems are universal and these are their problems. Whereas, although there may be some similarities and some overlap, it's not the most effective way to deal with problems. And furthermore, it also pits people against each other, because you separate people. It's ironic, because you think that you're grouping minorities and people who are of a specific demographic together, but what it does is that it creates, like I would think, unintentional segregation. Like, we refer to people like as the Black community, the Asian community, the Hispanic community. All their problems are different, yet they're all kind of similar. And it's like, okay, but that's not a way to fix the problem by grouping them that way, which is why, like, I tend to think of people as, being Americans. It's like, if I'm going to address you as a fellow citizen and as a fellow, person, and we're working together, it's like, we're going to focus on problems that are going to help us all as people, and not specific to race. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not denying that discrimination and prejudice doesn't happen. I have never said that there's no racism, there's no prejudice. I think that there's always going to be some form of bias. There's always going to be some form of like discrimination, because you know what? They may not even like you because you're Black. And yes, that's racism. But at the same time, to fix the problems, it's not universal because of the group that you claim membership to. Your problems are specific to you. And the problem with this identity politics thing is, if you group everybody based on their identity, and this is just my opinion, okay? I'm going to set the record straight and say, hey, you can refute me, but my opinion is that those problems no longer become your problems. They become the problems of the group you claim membership to. So it's just like, I'm Asian, but because of identity politics, Asians have this problem. They run into this issue. Do you become more, proactive when it comes to confronting your own problems, or are you just going to blame another race of people for your issues? That's the thing about it as well, because it no longer becomes about you. It becomes, well, I'm Asian, so I'm at a disadvantage. Are you? Or is that what you've been taught because you were put into a group because of, you must be Asian, so you must have a problem with, stereotypes, emasculated stereotypes, which is true to some degree, but it's not true for everybody. And that's all I'm trying to say. That's my problem with identity politics, is that it groups people together and it pits people together, and it doesn't really help us focus on problems. Yes, it can be racially based, but like at the same time, not everybody feels that way. Not everybody agrees that those are issues that they have. So,
well, you were mentioning, continuing with that, American, being an American, and it reminded me to a quote. I think it was from Ben Shapiro, that he was saying that there's no white privilege or male privilege. The only privilege that you might have is being an American, because at least the image that we have outside of America is like the land of the free, the home of the brave, and this entrepreneurial spirit that created the same country. Do you feel that this braveness or this pride of being an American it still exists, or on the other side, as I was mentioning before, this identity politics is going to rule the social hegemony?
I think it does. I think there's a lot of people, as evidenced by, just the support for different beliefs. It's evidence that people want to believe that, and that people still do believe that. I think it's hard to see if you're only confined to one type of people. But yeah, Americans, us, moving forward as a country and doing better, and the opportunities that we have here are spectacular, which is why everybody wants to come here. It's interesting because a war veteran emailed me recently.
Really?
And this also came from some of my family members who had lived in other countries, served in other countries, lived in more, I guess I would say, disadvantaged conditions than people here. And they said something, all of them had one common theme, and it was the idea that, like, you don't appreciate the opportunities and you don't appreciate freedom until you've seen it in other countries. And that's always interesting because it's like people will talk about how horrible America is and how it's an incredibly fascist, racist society. Yet people all over the world come here all the time and they want a piece of it. And I'm very fortunate that I am a citizen, of this country. But it's like to somebody close to me who had, served in the Peace Corps in Colombia and told me about what it was like living there in the 70s and the 80s. And then somebody who served in 2 wars overseas and is now a, veteran and said, hey, man, I agree. Like, until you see it in other countries, it puts things in perspective. It's not to dismiss that America doesn't have its problems, but it kind of makes you go, in the spirit of this country, like freedom and liberty and that all those ideas that we can have that we take for granted. It's like, this is not like in some of those countries, which I won't name, where you could get killed for your ideas, literally, or you could be thrown into prison. And, it's far less free in all aspects. You can't always create what you want. You can't always get ahead because of your gender, because of your sexual orientation. We don't have that here.
Okay, moving on, another topic I would like to talk with you. As you know, this channel is called Spanish Libertarian, and we are somehow libertarian oriented, but also completely open to talk with different people and different approaches. I would like to know your 2 cents on libertarianism, or if you see, I know in the California area, it's not that common, but I don't know. Is that common to be a libertarian, or at least people know what is it about in the States?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely something that some people talk about, not all. And there are aspects of libertarianism that I've entered into discussions with people. So it is something that's fairly prevalent. Actually, I have close members of my family that are self-identified libertarians. They voted for Gary Johnson and believe in a lot of those aspects. As far as libertarian goes, and as it pertains to me, there are beliefs, there are values that libertarians uphold, or the idea of libertarianism is about, that I agree with. I think that the freedom to enter into, like, for example, gay marriage, it's like you can do that if you want to. You can enter into it. There should be no problem. That's you with somebody else. You're not infringing on somebody else's individual rights. That's completely fine. But like I said, I still believe that the government is good for something. I don't believe in a completely, country where it's like there's no government intervention whatsoever. There's no regulation to any degree. I mean, a lot of libertarians may disagree with me on this, but the very, very common example is like, oh, you should wear a seatbelt, or you're legally required to wear a seatbelt. And it's just like, yeah, I get it, but like I can see why that would be helpful just from a safety perspective. But some people see that as being infringing on their individual rights, and I'm like, well, I think that it's good that we have to wear seatbelts. Yeah. And I'm a little bit divided on drugs. Drugs, it's like, yeah, decriminalization of drugs, I get that. That's more of a libertarian outlook, but I don't have a fully formulated opinion on it. Just because, like, I guess maybe this is coming from my experiences and seeing the kind of things that drugs do to people, and I get that you can exercise your free will and what it is you want to engage in, and it's like, I mean, yeah, drugs like marijuana and all that, like if you want to legalize that, that's great. It is legal here, but it's like, I'm divided. I know that it's like no different from pharmaceuticals. You can administer that to people. People have the right to it and all that without government intervention or it being illegal. But I'm still a little bit divided on that, just because I get that you can do what you want. If you want to do drugs and be be an addict or whatever, or a junkie, that's up to you. But I don't know. I feel like the government sometimes intervening in that regard can be helpful, but I don't have a conclusion on that. But as far as like, the pursuit of like your own self and like, building your own business and entrepreneurship and like, free markets, the support for that at least as well. Yeah, those are aspects that I believe in. I believe in capitalism. I believe that it is a great system that knows no colors or races or anything. It's just what you make of it. So, and there's a lot of crossover with conservatives and libertarians as well in that regard. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. And I'm glad that you say openly that you're a capitalist, because it's not that common to hear, at least in Spain. So I like to hear these words, and I couldn't agree more. Maybe just talking a brief comment on drugs. Maybe the thing is not that if you legalize drugs, you ruin your life. The thing is that if it's more effective to have it on a formal market or on the black market. I don't know if you get my point.
Okay.
Okay. Well, anyway, more or less to close, at least to me, this interview and this conversation has been very interesting. I would like to talk about YouTube. I mean,
sure.
What are your midterm, long-term plans? What are we going to see you to make with the community? Are you going to move from YouTube? Because my question specifically is that, as you know, for example, Prager University and other channels, YouTube demonetized some of the videos, or with Alex Jones, they eliminated their content. So I don't know. How do you feel about this platform?
I think that YouTube that's what they do. It is not our platform as creators. We are just here with our own, you could say, spot, our own parking space, but they can revoke that access at any time. As far as my goals for YouTube, I will continue on YouTube as long as I can and continue doing that, simply because this is the platform where I can reach as many people as possible. It's, that's the thing. It's the second biggest search engine it's one of the biggest websites ever built. So the potential for it is vast. And as it's been demonstrated by people who have just found my videos, it's powerful. It spreads the message. I want to be able to express my views openly and have a discussion with people. So maybe if that's moving into a different platform, like my own website someday, just to have that, having podcasts, having a presence. I'm not so much as concerned about the demonetization. Like I get it, but like I'm more for just being able to reach people and staying on the platform as long as possible. There are a lot of other people like, Steven Crowder and Jordan Peterson and just a lot of creators, Dave Rubin, where I see myself kind of wanting to do more of that stuff, talking with more people, maybe having a conversation, debate, podcast. That's what I see myself doing. As of right now, I'm going to keep the daily videos up just to get my views out there, my awareness, and to honestly improve my skills, improve me talking in front of a camera and becoming better at doing that. That's also another thing too. There's a personal goal in it as well, which is being able to take my ideas, take talking points and talk about them and articulate them properly. Yeah, but I mean, my future, because of this whole thing, has it's been great, and it's also, unfortunately, it's hurt some relationships as well, as expected. And my future is a little bit uncertain, but I am going to keep up the YouTube thing as for now. I live off the cuff, and I've made a commitment to putting videos out regularly, and I will continue to honor that for as long as I can. So those are my goals right now, but I do want to grow it. Like, to say that I don't want to grow it is untrue. I want to make this thing huge. I want to get the word out there. I want to get to 100K, more than that. I want to surpass that. I want to feel like these are things that needed to be talked about, so do it as much as I can.
Well, Zach, I can say that you're doing pretty well and your communication skills are great, so don't worry about that. Just one thing, you were commenting that some of the people unfollow you, or you don't, your friendship relationship ended, or maybe I did not understand that part.
Yeah, I won't go into too much detail, but unfortunately, because of what I have said and some of my views, some people have decided that they can't agree and they can't be associated with me, and that's okay. Well, I don't think it's okay, but like that is their choice, and that's unfortunate that our current political climate and what's been going on has divided people so much to a degree where we can't even be civil about it. We can't do it. For people that I deeply care about, I think that we all inherently will still stay in touch and talk, but like it's been difficult, you know. By no means has this been easy for me. It's been pretty difficult because, you know, there have been people that have reached out and said, hey, you know, how can you say things like this? And people I care about, people who are close with me. And we just, that's the thing, is that we, from a political beliefs and values standpoint, disagree. But I don't want that, which is what I'm also trying to make with this channel. I'm trying to see if we can talk about ideas, the ideas that are tough to talk about and the ideas that need to be talked about, and do it in a respectful, encouraging, and perhaps productive way where both people can leave and go, you know what, even though we didn't really get to common ground, I didn't end up proving my point to somebody else, that was worth doing because it made me think. You know, that's to remark on that. That's been what's difficult, but it's also been, you know, something that will happen. This will, when you become more public about your beliefs and you talk about them in the way that I've talked about them on a platform like this, that's going to happen. So to anybody who's watching this, any viewers who want to express their views more openly, and not just openly, not just write about it, but with a face, with a name behind it, it's going to happen. There's no doubt about that. So,
well, I understand your point. In a way, it happened the same to me. But if you express yourself with respect and with honesty, I mean, if someone doesn't want to hear you or they don't like it, I mean, the world is a big place. The last question I want to make, and related with that actually, is that you give us some advice. Let's say I'm a content creator that I'm starting, or I am a person that I want to, I don't know, I change my political views, etc. I don't know, give us some advices with the knowledge that you have so far.
Yeah, so to any content creator who's wanting to get their content out there, their videos, and want to start making, you know, ideas and videos that will communicate with people, my advice is to just be authentic, is to be true to yourself. I know that sounds like a cliche, but it is infinitely true, to be honest, and to also work within your means. That's I think something that you don't always hear, is that, yeah, the honesty thing is important, the authenticity thing is important. Be confident in what you say, be confident in your views and how you put your videos out there. But also, like what I said, for work within your means, is you don't need anything complicated. You know, you could have an iPhone and go live with it, and that would work. I have a camera that I've been shooting with that I don't have a microphone for. It's literally just a camera, a tripod on the floor. That's how all my videos have been made. And I haven't upped the quality or the production at all, but it's paid off. You know, not to say that quality doesn't matter, because it does. But content is incredibly important. The subject matter is incredibly important. So remain consistent with that. And that's another thing I want to talk about. To other content creators, my advice to you would be to honor your word and honor consistency. If you tell people, even if you don't think anybody's watching, that you're going to make a video every day or 3 times a week or every week, that you honor that. And there's, I don't know, I don't get how the algorithm works, but I think that there's something to be said with when you stick to something regular, something consistent, even if you don't think anybody is watching, it will pay off. But you have to also do that with good subject matter, authenticity. And the thing is, it will take as long as it needs to. You need to be patient as well. Obviously, mine kind of blew up fairly quickly. I know that that's not the case. You know, that's not going to happen for everybody. But the important thing is to keep making content. And if it takes 6 months, a year, longer, do it because you like doing it, not because you want to become successful on the internet or anything. You know, you really have to be honest. Like, making videos every day is a commitment, but I love it. I almost feel a little bit like off when I'm like, oh, I didn't make a video today. Like, I gotta make a video today. You know,
Okay, well, Zach, I think that the hard part starts now, because reaching into the top, it's quite difficult, but as they usually say, remaining there is going to be the hard thing, but I'm sure you will do it, and at least you have me inside your fan base, and I will continue checking your content, and hopefully the audience of Spanish Libertarian will do it too. We will leave all the links in the description. So I don't have any more questions, man. It has been a pleasure. I think we have been talking like 35 or 40 minutes. I don't know if you want to add something.
I mean, we can talk about some other stuff if you have any questions for me. But I think that like right now, the time to express ideas, to enter into dialogues with people like you, this is healthy, you know? And we could disagree on some things as well, but I think that the fact that we're communicating and talking about things that we have in common and things that we don't is the important first step. And that's the important step for everybody, of anybody who's learning more and anybody who wants to understand things. Number one, don't always accept it at face value. You can learn and go, oh, okay, that's intriguing. But also go into things with a degree of skepticism, that you're going to go and find it out for yourself and formulate your own conclusions, you know. I think that that's what's healthy. And I think that the basis of this conversation also points to that. I'm glad that we were able to talk about this. This is all that I want, by the way, is to say, oh, wow, you feel the same way or you don't feel the same way? Okay, let's talk about it. Let's be civil. What hurts is when it's like, I can't talk to you because of your beliefs. And you believe these things, you must be a bigot. You must be a racist or a white supremacist. And it's like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Not at all. If you talk to me.
I couldn't agree more. That's the main reason that I picked you for making this interview. And I can say that I am more or less repeating the strategy that Dave Rubin is doing on his channel, because I love the fact that he interviews people that he has actually strong disagreements, but the fact that we can talk peacefully is what makes a society better, and because we can express freedom and we are not harming each other. So, Zach, it has been a pleasure, and hope to see you soon. I don't know if via internet or if you come to Spain, Barcelona, you know where to find me.
Oh, you're in Barcelona?
Yes, I am.
I've been meaning to go back to Spain for a long time. So one of my close buddies who runs the Discord server, I won't say his name because he wants to. You'd probably know, but we won't say it on the internet. He lives out in Spain too. I might go to Spain. I don't know. Sometime very, very near future, like within a year or something. So I'll hit you up. You know, Barcelona, I've never been to. I've been to Madrid and Valencia and Mallorca, but I've never been to Barcelona, which is closer, more further east. So
exactly.
Yeah, I that's awesome. How's Barcelona? Is it beautiful and great? And
Barcelona is great, but also we are having all our problems, so to speak, because as you know, Catalonia maybe is going to be independent, and this is creating a lot of political discussion. But I will leave it for another conversation because this could take hours. Well, Zach, thanks for being here, and thank you all the audience for being here too. Remember to hit the like and subscribe notifications button, because all these kind of things like the algorithm of YouTube, and I don't know. We will keep the open conversation because that's the idea. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Hey, take care, Ignacy. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.